Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a beautiful Sunday so far. Just wait for a few people to come in. Hopefully some people are awake. So this is the first of my Sunday little mini talks. They'll be about 15 minutes long. To start with, it's just me. Today it's just me, and then the following weeks I've got some friends coming to join me who will be talking about their lives and their spiritual journeys too. So it's a bit warm in here because I've had to shut all the windows because I've got a neighbour who's drilling and banging. I don't know what he's doing. He might be building a new house for all I know, but he's quite noisy, so it is a bit warm in here. So if I look a bit flushed, that'll be why. So obviously most of you who come here are well aware of my blog and how this little community started out, of based around my blog and people talking, just giving people a chance to read my blog and communicate with each other if they want to, and to be able to chat to me. So I'll make a start. So obviously I'm Claire, and I write usually monthly my blog Walking with My Goddess, and it's been going for 4 years now, and it's all about my spiritual journey, which started some time ago. It started probably about 8 years ago in earnest. Before that, it was quite. I was interested in things, but I hadn't made a clear connection with what I wanted to, where I wanted to go, and my understanding of what spirituality was and the goddess movement. So all this, Jen, morning Jen. So when I was younger, I remember asking my mum why, and Laura, good morning Laura, why God was male. Why wasn't there a goddess? And I was brought up in quite a Christian household, not in a lovely way. My mum and dad are absolutely awesome. So that was what, because God's a man. So I didn't quite sit with me, and I was very, very young. Morning, Jen. So I remember when I was at infant school, we had a reading tier system, and it was rainbow colours, and I was quite good at reading. I was quite precocious at reading, to be honest. And I zoomed through the red, orange, yellow, all the way through, and at the end there was bronze, silver and gold. Well, I read the bronze ones purely, I got through all of those, which were boring. I can't remember what they were about, they were boring, because I wanted to read the silver ones, which were all about the gods and goddesses of ancient Rome and ancient Greece. And about the only time I ever had a paddy at school when I was little, because I was a good little girl, was I finished the bronze, and they went, you can go straight to the gold. And I'd been reading all these books so I could get to read the stories of Zeus and Persephone and Diana and Apollo and all these things that really, really interested me. And they wanted me to skip them, and I had an absolute paddy and refused to. So that's when I really first found out about gods and goddesses and the polytheology of it all, not just the one god, which really, really interested me. And then I always liked books along the lines of witchy stories, magic stories. I commented on my morning Andy. I commented on my friend's podcast chat this morning about the first magic-y book that I really, really liked, and it was a book called Charmed Life by Diana Wynne Jones, who actually came to our school, and my copy of that is actually signed by her, and it says Claire, and I was really, really excited about that. But from then, it was the Oxford Reading Tree, leading goddess folks to paganism since the 70s. This was about 1975, 1976. Morning, Neen, morning, my lovely. So I started reading these sort of books, and when I got older, there wasn't, we'd yet to have Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She'd yet to, let me just turn this down because it's super, my computer's pinging at me, which you don't need to hear my computer pinging at me, sorry about that. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was yet to come, and when we had the only sort of paranormal and things like that, apart from the real horror things that I can remember. Oh, Trucker's in the house. Good morning. My husband's upstairs, probably hanging. Morning, Marky Park. was like Teen Wolf, and Michael Jackson's Thriller was the nearest we got to that sort of thing. And I was always interested in it. I always had candles and hippie sticks, as my brother called them. And he's always called me dirt worshipper, or he actually used to call me a weirdigan when we were younger, but now he just calls me dirt worshipper, my brother. Yeah, thanks. Which I love, actually. I love that. So I always had an interest in the incense sticks and all those kind of things, candles. And my husband will tell you, I mean, the house is full of candles and incense sticks. And I remember when I was about, morning, Neen, I was 17, and I went to the library, and there was a book called The Holy Book of Women's Mysteries, and it was by Susanna Budapest, and my hand just shot out for it. And it was all about the Dianic rites and traditions. Susanna Budapest is a Hungarian, morning Sue, is a Hungarian, they don't make you cough, Mark, you just put it on. Susanna Budapest is a Hungarian feminist who also practices witchcraft. And this was the first adult book that took magic and witchcraft and goddesses seriously. And I borrowed it and I borrowed it and I borrowed it. In the end, I took it back and they were going to delete it because people weren't reading it. I think morning Pam, I may have been the only one who'd ever borrowed it in all its time there. So I've actually got that same book sort of 32 years later. So, and obviously then I had my children and life was a bit tricky, a bit difficult. Always interested in things and the weird and the wonderful. So as they got older and I started having more time for myself, and I think that's quite often key for a lot of the ladies I've spoken to, I think you start to believe in yourself more as well when you get to your late 30s, 40s. You know, it's not all about how you look and the latest fashions. You get to the point where, what about me? I need to find what's me, what's in here. And although I was interested in all those things, I also my other favourite book was The Mists of Avalon that I read at university. That was, that was a real big find for me. Mark and I, we went to Glastonbury just for, it was before, we took the kids to Glastonbury on the way to Cornwall, and I just thought, I've got to come back to this place. I love this place. But it was a couple of years later we went on our own, so that's about 8 years ago. We went and I picked up a flyer randomly for the Goddess Temple, and it was for a course called Discovery by a dear lady called Michelle. And I kept thinking, I need to go and do this. I want to go and do this course. And it was once a month, every Saturday. And I'm thinking, well, I've got to pay for it. I've got to pay for the petrol down to Glastonbury. I've got to stay the night. Morning, Pete. Lovely to see your little face pop up there. And I was thinking, it's not doable. It's not doable. And I kept going back to this flyer thinking, I really, really want to do this. And I'm thinking, that's 3-hour drive down. Stay the night, petrol. And, we've got 2 teenagers and money's a bit tight when you've got 2 teenagers. But I did it. And I never, ever looked back. I went down, and the course that I did was all about, it literally, Discovery. What it said, it was learning about the different goddess archetypes. So the traditional ones are Maiden, Mother and Crone, and the Avalonian tradition, which is the ones that they talk about in Glastonbury, have added lover in there between Maiden and Crone, Maiden and Mother, because obviously there is a spell when you are not a maiden but you are not a mother, and they've started adding in Queen between Mother and Crone, which is kind of where I am at the moment, nearly 50, and I still feel in my prime. My body might tell me otherwise when I've trotted up the tour, but I'm not a crone just yet. So there's now potentially 5 archetypes, and it just depends on individual choice, what people choose to believe. So from there I learned all about the moon, the power of the moon. I love Queen. We are queens, Jen. We're queens. And the different Sabbats around the year. So obviously yesterday was Lammas, which is the first harvest of the year, and that's about abundance and harvesting the crops and the fertility and the fecundity, especially for Jenny with the word fecundity, because she does love a bit of fecundity, does our Jen. around the crops, hence the wheat. As those of you might have seen the wheat sheaf bread I made yesterday. I didn't realise how difficult making bread was. It's really hot work, but I really enjoyed making it, and it looked quite, I was really pleased with it. So that was yesterday for Lammas. And oh, Lou, hello Lou, my bestie's in the house too. Hello, my darling. I was chatting to her yesterday, and we're planning a road trip to Stonehenge in the sunset in a couple of weeks' time. So that would be cool. We've gone on many a weird and wonderful adventure together. So from there, I was really interested in the goddesses and working with the elements, the earth, air, fire, and water. Couldn't think what the last one was. I'm not a particularly watery sort of person. Morning, gorgeous. All the other elements, but there's not a lot of water in me if you look at my astrology. So I really interested in that, and did another course, and I'm still friends with people on that course. They were just workshops of finding out. They do run priestess spirals, but I didn't feel they were for me. And on our last course, when we all got together, we were talking about what we were going to do in the future, because a couple of the women felt a bit bereft that they weren't going to have this in their lives. And we were talking about what we were going to do, and I sat there and I went, oh, well, I'm going to start a blog when I get home. And to that point in time, I had no idea I was going to start a blog. So hence 4 years ago, on April the 6th, I started a blog. And as you all know, because most of you read it, and I've been blogging ever since, a bit sporadically at times when I just have nothing to write about, or I don't feel in the place to write, and life just gets busy. So I've been doing that for the last 4 years. And locally, I ended up being a temporary admin of Maidstone Pagans, and ended up, well, I suppose running is the word, as much as you can run a pagan group, because it's like herding cats, quite honestly. They're a lovely, lovely bunch, crazy bunch. I love them all to bits. So we meet up virtually at the moment, obviously, but we do meet up socially as well when we can. We go for walks and we have rituals. There's quite a lot of activity in Maidstone and Medway for pagans, so that's really cool. And that is, you've got people there from the Norse tradition, like people who, and heathens who follow Thor and Loki and all that kind of thing. You've got people who are witches. I do a little bit of witchcraft every now and then. You've got traditional witches, Wiccans. It's endless thing. There are so many different types of paganism, and of course the Druids. And I've got a real soft spot for Druids, as well as the goddessy aspect of things, and I do like the connection with nature. That's something that particularly draws me, hence why my blog is Walking with My Goddess, because I walk quite a lot. Cat herder. Yeah, I am a cat herder. I've got 5 cats. In fact, I'm surprised there's not one here. I was doing a live yesterday in a group I'm in, and George the cat decided to come in and show everybody his bottom, which was a real treat, as you can imagine. So that's what I've been doing. And I also facilitate a couple of women's groups, and I really need to not get distracted by the messages coming up, because 2 of my friends are making me laugh right now. So focus. So that's really powerful for as a human, but especially as a woman, to sit in circle with other women and connect your femininity to power and energy, not looking pretty necessarily, not looking, oh, look at me, I've got a new top on, or anything like that, but feeling the raw power of womanhood, of what your body does and the magic that is around that. That sounds wafty for some people, probably not you guys who are watching, because obviously you wouldn't be here. So that's what I do. And for me personally, it's meant that I feel much stronger as a person, and I connect to nature the whole time. Excuse me. I'm so more aware of the circle of the year as it goes around, the changing of the seasons. Watching it anew, it's like watching it with fresh eyes every year. So now obviously we're in the summer, and this is the time of the Lammas mothers, and this is the earth mother energy, the mother goddess, and that's something that really associates with me. And the first goddess that I actually worked with in any depth was the goddess Ker, who's the goddess of corn and wheat and the crops. Funnily enough, I'm not very good with wheat. It doesn't agree with me, so I have to, well, it's the gluten, so that's kind of ironic, but there's always that energy this time of year, and the crop, the wheat and the corn, the barley swaying in the fields has always felt really special to me. So that's who I particularly associate with, but I do, change a little bit throughout the year and see who else's energy works with me, and I really, really enjoy that. So that's a little bit about me. And I was going to do a little grounding for those of you who don't know what a grounding is. So it's a couple of minutes. So if you just want to get yourself a little bit comfy, you don't need to close your eyes, but you can if you want. I'm going to, just because it'll help me remember what I want to say. So let's take a sip of water because I'm getting a bit dry. So for grounding, I do this every morning. Before I call in the goddess. So calling in the goddess is when I talk to goddess and ask for the help I need for the day, maybe, and just to connect with her and feel the essence of her and the source with her in me. And I couldn't believe when I first did it how that made me feel, how I could feel something. And I think it needs to be done to really to feel it. But it's just a chance to connect with her. It's like a prayer in a way, but it's also that connection. And I suspect I've got one of my friends who's going to come and talk in a few weeks' time. She's going to be talking about Christianity and the goddess movement, because she believes in both. So that's, it'll be a very interesting talk from Jackie. She's amazing. So through grounding, I just start the morning, and I should do this now. So if you are comfy, I just want you to imagine that you are standing wherever you're comfortable in a familiar place, and just visualise as we go down where we are. So I ground myself down through the soil and the seeds and the bulbs, down through the tree roots digging deep into the earth, down past the bones of the ancestors and their animals, down through the soil, the stones, the coloured layers of rock that cradle our planet, down through the underground caves and caverns where rivers and waterfalls rush and play, down past the pockets of crystals and gemstones, down to the beating heart of Mother Earth, feeling her golden earth energy wrap round me like a cloak. Fear and worries melt away. All is peace, all is calm, all is love. Slowly I begin to rise back up, past the pockets of crystals and gemstones, up through the underground caves and caverns where rivers and waterfalls rush and play, up through the coloured layers of rock, up through the stones, the soil, up past the bones of the ancestors and their animals, up through the tree roots, the seeds and the bulbs, up through the grass, up over the hedgerows, up over the trees, up over the hills and their sacred standing stones, rising up into the glorious August morning, out past the nearly full moon, out through the velvety blackness of space and up to the stars, looking through the brightest star, the mother star, feeling her gold, silver, stardust energy cascade over me, filling me with inspiration and creation. And then slowly coming back through the stars, down through the velvety blackness of space, down past the nearly full moon, through the bright August morning, down over the hills and the sacred stones, over the trees, over the hedgerows, to the here and the now. Feeling the golden earth energy and the silver stardust energy mix and mingle and course through my veins, knowing I am safely and securely held between heaven and earth. I am unique, individual, creative, inspired, precious, and I am loved. Blessed be. So that's what I do. Oh, morning, Laurie. That's what I do every morning, just to focus and call myself in. And I find it really, really calming. So that's really about it for me. Next week, I've got my lovely friend Jenny joining us. Jenny is in the group watching, so morning, Jen. And Jenny is going to talk about her path and how that ties in with Kent Goddess group that she runs. And she's worked, blessed be Jen, and she has also worked with the Pagan Federation, and she worked in for people with disabilities, she's done, I know she's done some of their online festivals, and oh, bless you, cheers Lulu. So yeah, she's got some experience of that herself, so she'll be joining me next Sunday at 11. It's funny that I chose Sunday to do this, really, isn't it? Perhaps there's a bit of the old Christian lurking in me somewhere. Funny that. I don't know why I chose Sunday. Probably because I'm not at work and a lot of people aren't at work. But yeah, so if you'd like to join us again next week, Jenny will be here and she will be funny. She will make me laugh. So yeah, thanks for popping by, everybody. It's been lovely to see you all. Blessed be.